Today in the studio, I'm going to show you how I made my beautiful Poinsettia soap using soap shapers from Love Your Suds. This particular soap shaper set is made from acrylic and it has two sides. One where you scrape out the bottom portion of the soap and then you flip it over and screw it on to the guide and then you scrape out the flower portion of the soap. As you can see, I have the shapers at the end of my mold ready to go. And I do that so that when I pour the batter in, I know how high to pour it so that I don't scrape too much, but I have enough to reach the top of the design for that particular section of the shaper set. Because we're going to be scraping the soap, we want it to be pretty thick pretty fast. So I went ahead and stick blended it a little more than I normally do, but I wanted it to still pour in fluid so that it was level and there wasn't any chance of having any air pockets. As you pull the scraper through, you'll notice that it starts building up on the ends pretty quickly. Depending on what design I'm making for the soap, I can reincorporate the soap that I scrape out into the rest of the design. Because the batter gets thicker if you do that, I didn't in this case. I made two separate batches. I wanted them to be perfectly fluid in only two colors. I got this little scraper tool with one of the little molds that I bought for candy, but I use it for soap. And it works perfectly for scooping and then also cleaning the sides of the mold after you've been scraping. As you can see here, it gets a little tricky and a little bit messy as you're scraping, but just trust the process. Your scraper tool will do all the work to clean it up for you to make that design perfect. As you can see, it's cleaning up nicely. You just have to keep doing it several times over until you get a clean result. I should mention that nearly this entire video is in real time, so I hardly sped up any parts of it so you could see the whole process. Now I'm getting down to the final pass and I'll be able to pour in the last layer. Off camera, I cleaned up my soap shaper set and got all the soap off of it. And then I measured and then screwed it in how deep I needed it to go. And again, I'm going to leave it at the end of my mold in place, and it's my measuring stick. So I'm going to pour the soap in until it gets up to the very top of the design. Now it's time for me to mix up my second layer, and I do this in stages so that I have that nice fluid pour. You want it to be nice and even, no lumps, no chances of any air pockets. I make this soap using my standard method, and you'll see here I've got my mica colorant, my coconut milk, and my fragrance all in the same container, and I pour it in at the same time. That way I'm not over mixing. This next part is so satisfying to watch it go into the mold. Because I stayed to one end of the mold when I was pouring, I have to give it a shake and a shimmy to make sure it's completely level. And now we do our scraping and scooping process like we did before. So when I calculated this batch, I didn't account for so much of it being scraped out. So what I ended up doing is I had to make a separate batch at the end to fill up the top of the mold. Next time, I will just figure that in and figure out a bigger batch. All right, it's almost time for what should have been my last layer, but as I said before, there's lots of math going on when you make this type of a soap. This was the first time I did this particular design with this particular soap shaper set. So I did pretty good with my calculations, but I know what to do better next time so that I don't have to create that second batch for the top. For some reason, I couldn't find the footage of me decorating the top of the soap. You see there the little tiny soap poinsettias. I've got 5 loaves that I'm going to cut out of this mold. So I've got my poinsettias there, and then I've got some glitter made from eucalyptus that I will decorate the front of the soaps with. I use a powdered sugar duster to put my mica on for my pencil line, and I thought it would be a really nice, pretty little contrast around the edges of the petals for the soap. And now we get to pour in our final layer. And that's pretty much the process. We're going to jump right over to the decorated top, and then you can see me cut the bars and see the finished results. I'd like to thank Belinda from Love Your Suds for gifting me this beautiful soap shaper set, and also Alex and Alex from Custom Craft Tools for this beautiful mold that I use. I hope you enjoyed watching this, and thank you so much for watching.